To be able to go from the bottom, literally in every sense of the word to now be here, it's a blessing, but once again, it's just a stepping stone. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. It's a lot of things that I want to do in my career and where I want to go. So for me, it's just another step in a part of my journey, and my journey is not complete. And I'm fortunate to be able to do some more years with the Ravens. Hopefully end it all here. With this organization.
The linebacker market moved very slowly. Was that frustrating at all to you? Or were there times where you're getting a little impatient?
Of course, it was frustrating. To be able to, to be a person that believes in taking things into control. I work hard. I put my heart into everything that I do because that's what I can control. But free agency is something you can't control, and it shakes up the way that it shakes up at the end of the day. And so it definitely was frustrating. But it was what it was.
What have these last 10 days been like, and what was it that ultimately brought you back here?
What ultimately brought me back here was, the city, the organization, the players, the coaches, but more importantly, the city and the players and the coaches. It's something that I'm familiar with. It's the people that I know and I respect, and so it's what better way to represent yourself than, representing a bunch of people that you respect already.
Was there a point in time where you thought that maybe you wouldn't be back?
I think everybody always thinks at a point in time that they won't be back. It's always that possibility because this game is unpredictable. We never know what's going to happen at the end of the day. But I mean, in the back of my heart, I always knew, Baltimore was home. So this was what it was, and this is where I'm at.
How strange was it when you went to Denver to go in there? I mean, I guess every free agent knows they're going to visit places, but was it weird at all?
Yeah, it was strange, and that was something that I really wanted to take away from my agency. I didn't really want to take, visits. I didn't. It wasn't, visits wasn't up to me. I believe in, you go into it and you go into it anyway. You go in and you make the best out of any situation. So the visits was just the visits, but Denver was Denver. They didn't. It wasn't the same as Baltimore. It wasn't any of it wasn't the same. But of course, it's always going to be like that. If you're somewhere for 4 years, you're going to always compare it to this. So. It was just a trip. That's all it was to me.
Was that the one visit you took? Was that the only team you visited with?
Yep.
Where can you go with this team next year? So close to getting to the Super Bowl.
We can get better, man. We can get better. We could be a better team. We could be a better defense. But at the end of the day, all I can speak for is the defense. And on the defensive side, we're going to improve. We got great leadership, great players. And now, with Brendan and myself coming back, and Donnell and all of the other people, the linebacker corps is still going to be strong. So it's where can we go? The top. That's everybody's goal, But at the end of the day, you want to be at that one spot where everybody wants to be. So hopefully we can reach that.
Jameel, with them investing in you, how much do you feel like you still have room to grow as a player? And what is it you want to do to kind of justify their investment?
A lot of room to grow. I got a whole lot of room to grow. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. If it was percentages, like I wouldn't even be close to anything. So as far as upside, it's tremendous upside because to me, all I can do is improve because last year is a blank to me. Like it never happened to me. So all I got to do is start all over again and keep proving to people that I belong to be here. Because at the end of the day, that's what this game is about. Proving to everybody else that you're supposed to be here. You don't play for all of the other stuff. You play for the respect. And if I could get respect from a fan, a player, a reporter, that's something to me, and that's why I play this game.
Is there still the chip on the shoulder that was always there?
Man, it's even bigger now. It's even bigger. Chip on the shoulder the size of the golden nugget. I'm good.
How upsetting was it to see Jarrett and Corey as staples of the defense leave this offseason?
Oh, man, it's disappointing, But like I say, at the end of the day, this game you never know. You never know when you're going to lose someone great. Someone you respect, someone that you looked on to the guidance. And that's just how it goes. It's not like college where you guaranteed a certain amount of time with people. People go in and out, and with people's departure becomes new leadership. So that's just how the game is played. So, but losing them is definitely a blow. To the organization, but it's going to be other people that step up because it's always like that.
I feel like you have to be one of those people given, Ray at some point is going to go, and those two guys are now gone.
I feel like I have to be me. I feel like I have to be the person that I came in. Continue to be humble, continue to be a hard worker, and continue to be determined to be better than the person that's in front of me. If I continue to be that, if it's called the leader at the end of the day, so be it. And if it's not, it's not. But, as long as you get respect, in order to get respect, people, you have to put in the time and do all of those things. And when you do all of those type of things, people respect that, and I think they consider those people leaders at the end of the day.
Jameel, you talked about respect last year. With Ray being out those 4 games, you were calling the defense. You had the mic in your helmet. How big was that for you to kind of just show people, and even going into the free agent process, that you're a guy who can be the leader for a defense?
It was big, it was big to be able to showcase what I can do, but still at the end of the day, it's speculations on everything, you did it a little bit. Can you really do it? So it's always going to be something to keep that chip growing on your shoulder. It's going to keep growing every day, so it was nice. It was a good experience, but I'm looking forward to have a chance to be able to run the show, to be able to go out there and be the best person that I can be, the best player that I can be, and patiently waiting. That's the name of the game.
As a kid who grew up on Philly streets, undrafted free agent, you get this contract now. What's the first thing you do financially?
The first thing I do financially, I'm going to put this money in a sneaker box. No, man. I'm going to put it in a bank, man, invest it, man. I'm trying to secure my future, trying to take care of my family and generations behind me, and this is just a small stepping stone, it's not where it needs to be, but, I'll get there. But what am I going to do? I'm going to spend it right. I mean, I'm not going to make it rain.